my chosen one, listen to me now, for I am speaking directly into your spirit. What you have just accomplished is not small, and heaven did not receive it in silence. There was a celebration. There was a joy that moved through the unseen places the moment you took that final step, and the sound of it is still echoing. You may not have felt it yet with your natural senses, and you may not have fully grasped the weight of what just shifted in your life. But I am here to tell you plainly, something extraordinary has taken place, and it carries your name. I know the road that brought you here. I was on it with you. I saw the battles you fought without an audience, the tears that came in the quiet hours when no one else was present, the prayers you whispered into the dark when hope felt like a fragile thing that might not survive the night. You carried your faith through days when the evidence for it was thin, and you kept walking when every visible sign suggested that stopping would have been the reasonable choice. But you did not stop, and that choice, that single, repeated, costly choice, is precisely what brought you to this moment. Declare your amen if you have faith. I want you to understand what heaven celebrates. It is not merely the outcome. It is not the crossing of a finish line as though your journey were a race measured only by its end. What caused rejoicing was who you became while you were inside the fire. The version of you that stands here now is not the same one who first set out. Something was formed in you through every season that tested you, through every moment you chose trust over retreat. That forming is what I was after. That is what makes what comes next possible. The destination matters, my precious one, but the transformation that happened along the way matters more than you know. I tell you now, with the full weight of my authority over your life, nothing you walked through was without purpose. Not the delays that felt like abandonment. Not the closed doors that left you standing in hallways of uncertainty, wondering if I had forgotten your name. Not the losses that made you question whether the promises spoken over your life still held. Every single one of those moments was purposeful. I do not waste the seasons of my children. I never have. What looked like a detour was a preparation. What felt like a punishment was a curriculum. What appeared to be the end of something was, in truth, the making of you. There was a time when you questioned whether I was paying attention. I know you wondered if your silent endurance carried any meaning at all. If your quiet faithfulness was simply falling into emptiness with nothing on the other side to receive it. Hear me clearly, my beloved. I was never absent from a single one of those moments. I was present in the silences. I was close in the hollow hours. I counted every act of trust you extended without reward. I held every prayer that left your lips before the words had fully formed. Not one of them was lost. Not one of them failed to reach me. And all of them together have been woven by my hand into the gift that is now beginning to open before you. Something is rising in you now. You may feel it already. A steadiness that was not there before. A quiet that does not depend on your circumstances being resolved. A confidence that does not need to announce itself because it is rooted somewhere deeper than performance. That is what I placed in you through the fire. That is the strength that endurance produces when it is carried alongside me. The world cannot give you what you now carry, and the world cannot take it away. It belongs to you because it was formed in you, and it will remain. Declare, I believe, if this is reaching the place in you where truth is known. I also want to speak to the weight you have been carrying. Not the ordinary fatigue of a long season, though that is real enough. I am speaking of the deeper exhaustion, the kind that settles into a spirit that has endured without visible evidence of its endurance amounting to anything. The weariness of hoping and not yet seeing. the tiredness of giving and not yet receiving. That weight has not gone unnoticed. I have seen it on you, and I am telling you today that what you have been carrying is beginning to lift. Not because you found more strength to bear it, but because the season that required that particular endurance has served its purpose. It is completing itself. What follows will ask different things of you. My beloved, I looked at you in every moment you felt invisible. I know the nights when you wondered whether your presence here truly mattered, whether the things you hoped and labored for were meant for you, or for someone more deserving, more prepared, more whatever it was. The fear told you that you were not. Those whispers were not truth. They were the voice of the wilderness trying to convince you that the wilderness was your home. It is not. You were never meant to settle there. I led you through it for a reason, but through was always the direction, never around and never back. And you are through. Now hear what I am releasing over your life. I am bringing restoration to the places you had quietly stopped expecting to recover. I am repairing bonds you had begun to grieve as permanently lost. I am opening doors and corridors where you stopped knocking because the silence had taught you that knocking was useless. Stop letting the silence have the final word. The silence was not rejection. I was preparing what was on the other side of those doors to be worthy of your arrival. I was making it match not who you were when you first began to knock, but who you are now. You are arriving at what was always meant for you, as the person the journey made you. And that changes everything about what you are able to receive and carry well. My precious one, I am asking something of you right now. I am calling you to make a physical act of trust, to place a portion of what you hold into the work of this kingdom as a holy declaration. This is not merely an offering, it is proof. It is the act by which your hands say what your heart already knows, that I am your source, not your circumstances, not your own striving. Release a significant seed into this mission right now. Put the weight of your trust upon the altar. The depth of your release will meet the depth of my response. And what you sow in faith, I will return to you transformed. I want to settle something about who you are, because the long season behind you has done something to your sense of yourself. And I will not leave it unaddressed. When a person walks through difficulty without resolution, for long enough, something subtle begins to happen in the story they tell themselves about what they deserve, what is possible for them, what they are permitted to hope for. Quietly, almost without noticing, the borders of expectation begin to draw inward. Less, smaller, safer. You have done this, my beloved, and today I am undoing it. I am recalling the full story of who you are, not the edited version that your pain revised, not the diminished version that fear constructed when hope began to feel dangerous. The original, the one I authored before your trials had any say in the matter. That story says this: you are deeply valued. You are not valuable in some general, interchangeable sense, but specifically and irreplaceably valued, in the way that only I, the one who made you, can value what they made. You are chosen, not as a consolation, not as a second thought, but with clear intention, with genuine delight, and for a purpose that your failures did not revoke and your struggles did not diminish. Now I want to speak about the blessings that are moving toward you, because they are already in motion, and I want you to have eyes to receive them when they arrive. Some of what is coming will feel unexpected, not because you do not deserve it, but because it will arrive by ways you did not anticipate, through doors you had not thought to open, by the hands of people you had not thought to expect anything from. Do not let the unexpectedness make you suspicious. I work in unexpected ways because I am not limited to the channels you can see. When something good arrives in a manner you cannot explain, receive it. Let it land. Do not hold it at arm's length to protect yourself from the risk of losing it. Trust me to sustain what I give. There will be moments in the season ahead when you pause and realize that something has entered your life with such ease, with such natural rightness, that it will feel as though it was always meant to be there. That recognition will be accurate. It was. I placed it on the road before you laid the first stone of this journey. I prepared the people you needed before you knew you needed them. I arranged the connections, the moments, the openings. All of it was already in motion while you were simply trying to get through the day. That is what I do for those who trust me. I work ahead of them. State, I trust, if you believe this word belongs to your life today. And what of the dreams you set aside? I need to speak to those because I know what you did with them. The aspirations that once burned with great vitality in you. The ones that the length of your waiting and the heaviness of your endurance slowly persuaded you to stop tending. You did not abandon them entirely. You folded them up quietly and stored them somewhere deep, in a place where they would not be seen and therefore could not be disappointed again. I want you to bring them back out, not all at once, not with the urgency of someone trying to recover lost time, but with the gentleness of one who is beginning to believe again that what was placed in them was not placed there by accident. I do not put desires in a spirit that I intend to leave unfulfilled. I do not stir longing in a heart I created, and then turn away from that longing as though it does not matter. What you carried in those dreams was placed there by me, for reasons that the waiting did not cancel, and the difficulty did not erase. Some of what I have been doing in the silence of these past seasons was precisely the preparation of the ground into which those dreams can now be planted again. And this time, the soil is ready. This time, you are ready. Not the version of you that first dreamed those things, but the one who was formed through everything you carried since. My precious one, I want you to know what shifts when a spirit fully surrenders the need to carry its own weight and rests in the understanding that it is held. Not just in the abstract language of belief, but in the daily lived experience of waking in the morning and not reaching immediately for the worry that has become habit. Not performing peace, but possessing it. Not pretending that certainty exists where uncertainty is real, but being genuinely unshaken beneath the uncertainty, because what lies beneath is solid, and it does not move. That is what I am building in you now, not a spirituality that performs well in easy seasons, a foundation that holds in every kind of weather. I know there are people in your story who did not see you clearly, who formed their assessments of you based on what they observed in your most difficult seasons, and whose words, whether spoken aloud or communicated in the quiet of their absence, told a story about you that was incomplete and sometimes unkind. I want you to leave those assessments where they belong, in the past and in the hands of those who made them. You do not need to go back and correct the record. You do not need their revised opinion to confirm what I have already spoken over you. Let your life move forward into what is opening, and let what I do in and through you in this new season be the only testimony you require. The joy I am bringing to you now is not the loud surface kind that depends on everything going well. It is the deeper variety, the kind that knows how to exist quietly even in imperfect conditions, that shows itself not in every circumstance being favorable, but in a settled peace beneath all circumstances. It is the kind of joy that comes out in the way you breathe differently, in the way the weight of your days no longer sits behind your eyes, in the way you find beauty in things that once passed you by unnoticed, because your spirit is no longer too exhausted to receive them. That joy is growing in you right now, not as something you have to manufacture, but as something that is arriving. Declare, I receive this today, if your heart is open to what I am bringing. Let me tell you what you are stepping into, plainly, so that you can hold it and walk toward it with intention. You are stepping into a season of visible fruit from invisible roots. Every prayer you sowed in the dark is now coming up through the ground. Every sacrifice you made when no one was watching is becoming the foundation of something that others will eventually be able to see and stand on. The hidden faithfulness is becoming evident provision. The unseen endurance is becoming undeniable testimony. What was planted in secret is coming up in the open, and the harvest will not be small. You are stepping into a season of clarity. The confusion that once clouded your understanding of where you were going and why, that fog is lifting. Not all at once, but steadily, the way early morning light does not arrive in a single moment, but increases until you realize you can see things that were hidden an hour before. Decisions that once paralyzed you will begin to resolve themselves with a peace that your mind will recognize as guidance. The deep knowing that rises when I am directing you will become increasingly familiar, increasingly easy to distinguish from the noise of fear and the advice of those who do not see what I see. You are also stepping into a season of restored connections and new ones. Some of what I am releasing into your life comes in the form of people, specific souls whose paths are being brought to yours with intention. Not every person who enters your life in this season will carry equal weight, but you will know the ones who are sent by the quality of peace that accompanies their presence. There will be no striving in those relationships, no exhausting negotiation of worth, no wondering whether you are truly wanted. They will carry the mark of what I prepared, which is ease, depth, and a mutual recognition that something is right. My precious one, you have endured long enough to know that what I am saying is not empty comfort, given to make the difficulty feel smaller. You have walked through enough to know the difference between a word that merely soothes and a word that carries actual weight. I am speaking with weight now. What I have declared over this season of your life is not a feeling. It is a fact already established in the realm where I work, before it arrives, in the realm where you live. The victory I am confirming for you today was settled before you heard these words. Your name is on it. Walk toward it as one who knows it is already theirs. My beloved child, do not look back. Not with longing, not with regret, not with the hope that returning to what was familiar would feel safer than moving forward into what is new. The old season is complete. It has done everything I sent it to do in your life, and it is released. What lies ahead was built for the version of you that the old season produced. To turn back would be to carry the harvest of years of formation back into the field where the forming happened. And that field no longer belongs to this part of your story. Your face must stay forward. Your feet must keep moving toward what is already waiting. I am with you in every step, not observing from a distance while you navigate the way on your own, but present, immediately and completely present, in the way that I have always been present with those who trust me. When the road turns in directions you did not expect, I am already in the turn. When doors that seem important to you remain closed longer than you think they should, I am in the waiting too, and I am doing something there that will only become visible when the door finally opens. Trust the whole of the road, not only the parts that feel like progress. Every part is progress, even the ones that do not look like it. There is one more thing I want to say, and I want you to hold it long after this word is ended. You are not a person to whom things simply happen, acted upon by forces larger than yourself, carried by currents you cannot control at the mercy of outcomes you cannot influence. You are a chosen one. That is not a title of passivity. It is a declaration of active, divine purpose. You were selected before the foundations of the world were established, equipped with everything your specific calling requires, and placed in this exact moment of history because this moment needed what only you carry. The fire you walked through was not incidental to that calling. It was the making of it. Everything is in order. Everything is prepared. Everything is ready. Walk forward now, my beloved, in the full weight of what you are and what you carry, with your head lifted and your spirit open and your hands ready to receive what is already on its way. Heaven has confirmed your victory, not as a future hope still suspended in uncertainty, but as a present reality being established in your life right now, in this breath, in this moment, in the very step you take when you leave this place and move into the day that is waiting for you. My precious one, let me speak now about the nature of divine timing, because it is one of the things I most want you to understand as you move into this new season. You have lived through delays. You know what it is to pray and wait, to believe and not yet see, to hold a promise while the evidence for it remains somewhere out of reach. And during those seasons, the enemy of your soul worked tirelessly to reframe the delay as denial, to make the waiting feel like rejection, to convince you that the silence between the promise and its fulfillment meant the promise was never real to begin with. I tell you with absolute certainty, that was a lie. Every single time. My timing is not slow. My timing is precise. There is a difference between a promise that is delayed and a promise that is being prepared. What you were waiting for was being shaped. The people who will be part of it were being positioned. The conditions required for its fullness to arrive intact were being assembled, one by one, with a care that you could not observe from where you were standing. You were on the ground level, seeing only the day in front of you. I was seeing the whole of it, the beginning, the end, and every movement in between, and I was arranging everything accordingly. Nothing about my work in your life was careless. Nothing was left to chance. I think of the one in the ancient writings who carried a promise of such magnitude that the natural mind could not hold it without straining. A promise that a barren woman and an old man would become the parents of a multitude without number. Year after year passed. The evidence mounted for impossibility rather than fulfillment, and yet the promise did not expire. The promise could not expire, because what I speak does not answer to time the way mortal things do. My word does not age. It does not diminish. It does not become less true with the passing of seasons. And when the appointed moment arrived, it arrived with everything it was always meant to carry. Nothing was missing. Nothing had been lost in the waiting. The fullness came. I tell you this because I want you to understand what has been kept for you in the waiting. Your promises were not sitting somewhere losing their potency while time passed. They were held by my hand, complete and intact, moving toward their appointed season. And that season is now. Not next year. Not when you have done more to deserve it. Not when you have prayed more, worked more, proven more. Now. In this season, in this turning, in what is already beginning to unfold in the practical terrain of your daily life. The promises are arriving. Receive them without apology. There is also a word I must speak about fear, because fear has been a companion on your road that I am now asking you to part ways with. Not the natural alertness that keeps you wise in difficult situations, that I gave you, and it serves you. I am speaking of the deeper fear, the one that has taken up residence in the places of your spirit where trust was shaken. The fear that good things will not hold. The fear that when things begin to go well, something will come to take it away before it can take root. The fear that you are somehow not enough to hold the life I have prepared for you. That fear is not truth. It is a learned response to old pain, and it does not belong to the season you are entering. I did not form you for a life governed by fear. I said this plainly in the ancient writings, and I am saying it again now, directly to you in this moment. I have not given you a spirit of fear. What I have given you is power and love and a sound mind. Those three things together are sufficient for everything that lies ahead. The power is mine, flowing through you as you remain connected to me. The love is the environment in which you were created and in which your life is intended to flourish. And the sound mind is the capacity to perceive clearly, to discern wisely, to think without the distortion that fear produces when it sits in the seat of judgment. Walk in what I have given you, and let what I did not give you fall away. My cherished child, I want to speak to your relationships, because they are about to change in ways that will feel both tender and significant. Some of what enters your life in this season will come in the form of people, souls specifically prepared to walk alongside you, not because of what you can offer each other, but because of what I intend to build through your connection. You will recognize them by the quality of peace that accompanies their presence. There will be no performance required, no exhausting presentation of a version of yourself designed to earn their approval. They will know you, and what they know, they will welcome. These connections are not coincidences. They are appointments. I arranged them before either of you understood what was being arranged, and there are those who will return to you. Some whom distance or difficulty separated from your life. I am restoring those bonds where restoration serves what I am building in both of your lives. Do not be surprised by what comes back. Do not interrogate its arrival too sharply, demanding that it explain itself before you allow it through the door. Some returns are mine. Some of what was taken, I am giving back, transformed by what the absence worked in it. What returns will not be identical to what left, but it will be better, carrying a depth and a tenderness that it could not have had before the separation. Open your hands for it. Equally, there are connections that will naturally release themselves from your life in this season, and I want you to receive that releasing without grief. Not every relationship was meant to span every season. Some people were placed on your road for a particular chapter, and when the chapter closes, their part in your story closes with it. This is not failure. It is not a sign that something went wrong. It is the natural movement of a life being directed by a purpose larger than any single relationship. Let what releases, release. Bless it as it goes, and make room for what is coming, which is more fitted to who you are now than what it is replacing. I want to turn now to the question of purpose, because I know it has lived in you for a long time, sometimes with clarity and sometimes in seasons of deep confusion. There have been times when you felt the weight of a calling you could not fully articulate, a sense that you were meant for something specific that you had not yet found the language for. And there have been other times when the uncertainty of that calling made you wonder whether you had imagined it, whether what felt like purpose was simply the self-deception of a heart that needed to believe it mattered. It was not self-deception. You were formed with intention, for a purpose I established before the foundations of the world, and that purpose did not waver when your understanding of it did. I do not revise my intentions, because the vessel I chose is taking longer than expected to step into them. I form the vessel until it is ready, and then I release the purpose through it. You are that vessel. The forming is largely done. The readiness I required is now present in you. Not the perfection that fear told you was necessary, but the genuine depth of character that only a road like yours can produce. The purpose is ready to move, and so are you. What that purpose looks like in practical terms will unfold over time, and I will make each step clear as you need to take it. I do not ask you to understand the whole of it before you can move. I ask only that you take the next step that is visible, and trust that the one after it will become visible as you move. This is how I have always led those I call. Not by map, but by presence. Not by providing the full plan, but by making the next movement plain. If you walk with me, you will not be left standing in darkness wondering which way to go. I will make the way clear. I always have. My beloved, let me speak now about provision, because it is one of the practical territories where trust is most often tested. The question of whether there will be enough of what is needed for the life I have called you to, enough to cover what is required, enough to move forward without the constant anxiety of scarcity pressing on every decision. That question has lived in you with some weight, and I will not speak over it as though it does not matter. Hear me. I am your provider, not as a metaphor, not as a spiritual concept to be appreciated in the abstract while the material reality remains uncertain, as the actual, reliable, never-failing source of what you need. I own everything. I have access to every resource, every channel of supply, every avenue of provision that exists, and I have never failed to provide for what I myself commissioned. What I ask of you, I equip you for. What I build through you, I supply. Your obedience to my calling is never meant to lead you into a place of lack that I then abandon you in. When I open a door, I do not open it into emptiness. I open it into what I have already placed on the other side. The supply that is coming to you will not all arrive in the ways you are accustomed to expecting it. Some of what I release in this season will come through channels that did not exist before. Some will come from directions you would not have thought to look. I ask you to hold your expectations of how provision should arrive loosely enough that you do not miss it when it comes in a form you were not anticipating. Stay open. Stay expectant. And when something comes your way that you cannot explain by your own effort or planning, receive it as the gift it is, and thank me for it, because that is what it will be. There is a resilience now fixed in you that I want you to become conscious of carrying into the road ahead. It is not arrogance. It is simply the practical knowledge of a soldier who has been in difficult battles and emerged from them, and therefore knows, from experience rather than theory, that they can endure more than the battles ahead are likely to require. You are not naive about difficulty. You do not expect that the new season will be without its challenges, its tests, its moments where trust is required in the absence of immediate comfort. But you also know, in a way that cannot be talked you out of, that you have been through harder and you are still here. That knowledge is a weapon, my precious one. Use it. When fear arrives, and it will arrive, because that is the nature of this life, do not give it the reverence of your full attention. Acknowledge it briefly, then bring it to me. Do not sit with it. Do not analyze it into further growth. Do not build a theology around it. Simply bring it to me and leave it there. I am equipped to handle what you carry to me. My peace is not troubled by your fear. My capacity is not strained by your need. What you lay before me, I take. And in its place, I give you the settled assurance of one who knows that the hands holding their life are the strongest hands in existence. My child, I am aware of the exact condition of everything in your life that appears broken or incomplete. The areas where restoration has not yet arrived. The places where the answer has not yet been made clear. The relationship still in process, the doors still unopened. The aspects of your calling that remain not yet fully in sight. I see every one of them. And I tell you, none of them are outside of my capacity. None of them are too far gone for what I am capable of doing. I am not a God of partial restoration. I do not mend things halfway and leave the rest. When I move in a situation, I move all the way through it. When I restore fully. When I heal deeply. Trust me with every incomplete thing in your life. All of it belongs in my hands. What is ahead of you is greater than what is behind you. I do not say this to diminish what you have been through. What you endured was real, and it cost you genuinely. But the harvest of what you planted through your faithfulness is larger than the field in which you sowed it. The return on the trust you extended in the dark is more than proportional to the difficulty of extending it. I am a God of abundance, not of exact equivalence. I do not return to you merely what the journey cost. I return to you transformed, multiplied, made more fruitful by having passed through my hands. This is what is coming. This is what your name is on. My precious one, there is something I want to say about the way you see yourself. Because the long road you have walked has a habit of leaving marks on the inner mirror, the one through which you read your own reflection and form your conclusions about what you are capable of, what you deserve, what is reasonable to expect from your life. That mirror, in some of its parts, was distorted by what you endured. The image it gave back was smaller than the truth, diminished in ways so gradual you may not have noticed the shift, only the result. A quiet pulling back of expectation, a careful management of hope, a learned wariness about believing too fully in things that might not materialize. I am adjusting the mirror. I am speaking the truth of who you are into the parts of your self-understanding that the wilderness revised without permission. You are not too small for what I have prepared. You are not too damaged by what you have been through to carry what is coming. You are not too late, too behind, too far from the place where these things are possible. You are exactly who I always said you were, before the difficulty, before the delay, before every voice that offered a diminished version of your story as though it were the authoritative one. My version is the authoritative one, and my version says, you are chosen, you are capable, you are called, and the time of what I prepared for you is now. I want to speak as well about the quietness that is coming. Not the quietness of a life made smaller, but the quietness of a spirit that has stopped striving and has learned to receive. There is a kind of busyness that takes hold of those who have survived long seasons of difficulty. A compulsive movement that mistakes activity for progress, that cannot sit still because sitting still feels dangerously close to the vulnerability that the difficult seasons exploited. You may have developed that pattern. Many have, who have walked the road you have walked. But I am calling you into a different rhythm now, one where the doing flows from the being, rather than the being being defined by the doing. Rest is not the enemy of purpose. Rest is what sustains purpose over a lifetime. And I am asking you to let it come. Consider the way a field is managed by one who understands the land. There are seasons of planting, seasons of tending, seasons of harvest, and there are seasons of fallow, when the field is given over to rest, so that what has been depleted can be replenished, so that what has been taken from the soil can be returned. That season of fallow is not laziness. It is not a failure of vision or a surrender of purpose. It is the act of a wise steward who understands that the land can only give what it contains, and that what it gives must be replenished if it is to continue giving. I am calling you to receive replenishment now, my beloved. The field of your spirit has given much. Let me put back in it what your faithfulness drew out. This does not mean inactivity. It does not mean that your hands are to be still in every sense. It means that the driven, grinding quality of effort gives way to a different quality, one of obedient movement, step by step, as I make each step clear, rather than the frantic generating of motion out of the anxiety that nothing will happen if you stop pushing. Stop pushing, my precious one. Start following. There is a vast difference between the two, and the season ahead will teach you that difference in ways the previous one could not, because you were too focused on surviving to learn it. Now the surviving is done. Now the following begins. I want to tell you about the kind of day that is coming for you. Not a specific date on a human calendar, but a kind of day, the quality of morning that arrives in a life that has rounded the corner from endurance into flourishing. It is the kind of morning where you wake, and the first thing that meets your awareness is not a weight pressing down, but a lightness rising up, where the tasks of the day carry a sense of meaning rather than obligation, where the people around you feel like gifts rather than demands, where you look at the territory of your life and find that you like what you see, not because everything is perfect, but because you can perceive the goodness that is woven through it, the grace that is active in it, and the purpose that gives every ordinary moment its particular dignity. That kind of morning is not wishful thinking. It is not the spiritual equivalent of a pleasant dream that dissolves when you wake to the reality of how things actually are. It is what is possible for a spirit that walks in genuine communion with me, that has learned to receive what I give without immediately bracing for its removal, that has been seasoned by genuine endurance into the kind of faith that does not perform, but simply knows. That is what you are becoming. That is what the fire was for. And that kind of morning is closer to you now than you presently understand. My precious one, I am not finished with you. I do not grow tired of my own children, and I do not lose interest in what I began when the completion of it requires more patience than was initially apparent. I am as committed to the fullness of your story as I was at its beginning, and I am more equipped to bring it to its appointed end than you are currently able to imagine. I am the author who does not abandon the work. I am the father who does not release the child. I am the keeper of promises who keeps them not because they are easy to keep, but because my nature is faithfulness, and my word is my bond. What I have said over your life will happen, not some of it, all of it. In its appointed time, by my appointed means, with a fullness that exceeds what you asked for when you first brought the asking to me. Walk forward into that. Walk forward with the quiet authority of one who has been through the fire and knows that the fire had a limit. Walk forward with the settled peace of one who has been in the wilderness and has now tasted the land that was waiting on the other side of it. Walk forward, knowing that you are not alone, that you have never been alone, and that the one who has been with you in every season of difficulty is the same one who walks with you now into the season of harvest. Your victory is confirmed. It is settled. It is already done in the realm where I work before it becomes visible in the realm where you live. And what I have confirmed, heaven has celebrated. The sound of that celebration, my beloved, is meant for you. Receive it. You have earned the right to receive it. Walk into what is waiting. My beloved, as I bring this word to its close, I want to leave you with something to carry that goes beyond the comfort of this moment and becomes a foundation for the days and weeks and seasons ahead. Because the truth is, words, even words spoken with genuine authority, even words that carry the weight of heaven, can fade in the noise of ordinary life. The pressures return, the doubts find their old voices, the circumstances that have not yet visibly changed continue to press on your awareness, and the temptation is to conclude that what was spoken in the moment of encouragement did not have the lasting power it appeared to have. So let me give you something more durable than comfort. Let me give you an anchor. Hold this. I have already been to every place in your future that you are afraid of, and I have already made provision in every one of them. There's no junction ahead that I have not already visited. There's no darkness coming that I have not already placed a light inside. There is no lack waiting for you in any territory I have called you to, that I have not already arranged to fill. You are not heading into unknown country. I have been there. I know the road. I know what you will need when you arrive, and I have already sent it ahead. Walk with that knowledge under your feet. Let it be the thing that answers the whispers of fear when they rise. And carry this as well. The story I am telling through your life is not finished, not even close. What you have walked through has been the early chapters, the formation section, the wilderness section, the section where the main character is being shaped into someone capable of carrying the story to its appointed end. But the most significant chapters lie ahead of you, not behind. The things I will do through you in the next season will be greater than what I did in the last one, because you are now a more prepared vessel. The depth into which I can pour is greater. The reach through which I can work is wider. The authority I can entrust to you is deeper than it could have been before the fire. More is ahead, my precious one. So much more. Do not grow small as you step into it. Do not let the newness of it, the unfamiliarity of it, the way it asks things of you that you have not yet done, convince you to step back into the known. The known served its purpose. It taught you what it had to teach. What lies ahead will teach you things the known never could, and they will be worth every moment of discomfort that the stretching requires. Say yes to the stretching. Say yes to the expanding. Say yes to the version of your life that I have been preparing for since before you were born. It is yours. It has always been yours. And it is time. Declare your amen if you have faith. Not as a passing moment, but as a declaration that settles deep in your spirit and carries you forward into every good thing I have prepared and promised.
We run on viewer support only. For exclusive member-only content, scan the QR or see the pinned comment. God bless you.